Listen, if your screen time is draining your creativity instead of actually fueling it, you are definitely not alone. Today, we are unpacking some truly profound research that connects your everyday scrolling habits straight to massive global power structures. But more importantly, we're going to talk about how you can actually take your mind back.
Because it's wild, right? We're living in this core paradox. The web was supposed to be this incredible portal of infinite possibility, yet as so many analysts and creators are pointing out, we're just left feeling overwhelmed, constantly distracted, and totally burnt out. The platforms that were built to connect us are now literally engineered to keep us hooked. It's a massive shift. We went from using a tool to being used by an environment.
So, to unpack all of this in today's explainer, here is our roadmap. First up, the 24/7 attention trap. Second, the rise of digital colonialism. Third, the extinction of downtime. Fourth, technologies of the self. And finally, reclaiming digital autonomy.
All right, diving right into Section 1, the 24/7 attention trap.
Think about this for a second. Authors like Jonathan Crary, who wrote 24/7, Late Capitalism and the Ends of Sleep, argue that our modern economic system basically forces us into unending activity. The marketplace just never closes. Crary theorizes that this constant, interminable non-time completely blurs the lines of our lives. It eats away at our downtime, making sleep pretty much our only escape from the constant noise of the digital world. We are just pushed to be constantly productive, and honestly, it consumes our ability to even imagine a shared future.
You know that old saying, if it's free, you're the product? Well, it is absolutely true here. The entire business model of the internet is an attention economy. These systems are explicitly designed to keep our nervous systems locked in survival mode just so our attention can be extracted. As analysts point out, platforms actually thrive on our exhaustion. They flood your timeline with content engineered to keep you reactive. Your scroll time? It's literally a data goldmine that translates your personal focus straight into corporate revenue.
Let's zoom out a bit for Section 2, the rise of digital colonialism.
When we look at academic research, like the work from Artur Ishkanyan, it becomes clear that AI and data architectures aren't just new tech. They represent a massive reconfiguration of global sovereignty and power. Power isn't just about territorial borders or traditional governments anymore. It's deeply embedded in algorithmic systems, data infrastructures, and computational supply chains that span the entire globe. Now, understanding this academic distinction is absolutely crucial. You've probably heard of Shoshana Zuboff's concept of surveillance capitalism. The idea that our individual behavior is commodified to sell ads. But researchers argue we have to look bigger at digital colonialism. Actually, scratch that. It's not just bigger, it's foundational. This theorizes an upstream structural control over human data and knowledge. It's not just about marketing. It's about who literally owns the infrastructure that dictates how knowledge is produced and how populations are governed worldwide.
So how does that control actually happen? Researchers identify 4 key dependency pathways. This is how power is maintained through infrastructural choke points, rather than a traditional invading army. We're talking about technical reliance on foreign corporate clouds, centralized data extraction, external frameworks dictating design standards, and a severe lack of local capacity to audit these AI systems. Whoever controls these choke points, like semiconductor supply chains or global tech standards, holds immense quasi-sovereign power over everyone else.
Bringing it back to our own psychology, let's look at Section 3, the extinction of downtime. Researchers at the University of Bath dug into the work of philosopher Martin Heidegger to highlight a really sharp contrast between two different states of mind. First, there's superficial boredom, that restless, antsy feeling we instantly cure by grabbing our phones and scrolling. But then there's profound boredom. This comes from true, uninterrupted solitude. It might bring up some existential questioning, sure, but researchers argue this profound state is actually a requirement for real creative thinking and discovering new passions.
Seriously, think about the last time you waited for a train or stood in line at the grocery store. You probably reach for your phone immediately, right? We all do it. It cures that superficial boredom instantly. But by doing that, you're literally preventing your brain from reaching that deeper, highly meaningful state of profound boredom. It's fascinating. Researchers noted that during the pandemic lockdowns, people finally had that rare, uninterrupted time to get profoundly bored, and it led to tons of people discovering new hobbies and entirely new life directions. Constant digital distraction just starves us of that.
Okay, so how do we fight back? That brings us to Section 4, Technologies of the Self.
Near the end of his life, the philosopher Michel Foucault explored this amazing concept he called technologies of the self. The basic idea is that by engaging in intentional spiritual or contemplative practices, we can actually secure our autonomy from dominating media systems. It's this empowering notion that by intentionally training our minds and our bodies, we can free ourselves from external manipulation and achieve real personal sovereignty.
Here's a great example. Academic Waddick Doyle points to traditional knowledge systems, like Sufism, to help rethink our modern digital problems. Take the Sufi practice of tawajjuh, which is the act of turning one's attention toward the eternal. It treats attention not as some scarce commodity to be bought and sold by tech billionaires, but as a generative, shared abundance of the heart. It is a completely different, much more beautiful paradigm for understanding human focus.
The philosopher Simone Weil absolutely hit the nail on the head when she said that attention, at its highest degree, is the same thing as prayer. This thought elevates our focus way beyond mere screen time. It reframes our attention as an essential, deeply human, almost sacred resource. When you view your attention like that, you quickly realize that mindlessly handing it over to an algorithm is a massive, profound loss.
Which leads us perfectly into our final section. Number 5, reclaiming digital autonomy. Let's get practical. On a massive structural level, states and corporations are constantly battling for infrastructural dominance and market control. But researchers highlight a really exciting third way, a community or indigenous model of techno-sovereignty. This model roots authority in stewardship and collective rights, proving that technology doesn't always have to be top-down and extractive. It can absolutely be stewarded by the very communities that use it. So what can you and I actually do today to stop feeding the machine? First, set real, hard boundaries, like committing to screen-free mornings or giving yourself specific intentional scroll windows. Second, take your creative output off of the massive platforms and move it into community-owned spaces, like newsletters or private groups that aren't driven by outrage algorithms. And honestly, sometimes the most radical thing you can do is just take a conscious break. Create something purely for yourself, with zero metrics attached.
I want to leave you with this final thought to wrap up today's explainer. Your focus, literally, shapes your reality. The systems we've talked about today are incredibly powerful, for sure, but so is your own agency. Guard your attention wisely. Thank you so much for joining me, and here's my challenge to you. Try to find just 10 minutes of profound, uninterrupted boredom today, and just see where your mind takes you.